Hi, this is Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're talking about planets in retrograde. That's right, today we're actually talking about Mercury going back into retrograde for the third of 4 times in 2022. So this is a really great time to really talk about Mercury in retrograde. When I first heard about Mercury in retrograde, I was like, this sounds absolutely horrible. And then I started to realize, like, hold on a second. They're talking about this planet that goes into retrograde some years 3 times, some years 4 times. Okay, my entire life, and I've made it through. But they're acting like the world is coming to an end. And I was like, this sounds a little bit fishy. I do realize that Mercury in retrograde affects people in different ways now. And some people really get tangled up in Mercury in retrograde, and some people just really don't even notice it. So this is the video for people that kind of really notice it. I notice it early on. I am really in Mercury in retrograde full blown early on, and I can feel it full. And then it's one of those, as we get to the end of it, I'm already kind of like, I'm out of it, and other people are still in it. So it doesn't matter, but knowing that it affects you is really important to understand, because it does affect all of us in some way, just some way more than others. So let's talk about Mercury in retrograde in September and October of 2022. So really the important part is Mercury starts into retrograde August 20th, 2022 into pre-shadow, so it just starts to slow down in the sign of Virgo. And then on September 9th, Mercury goes into full retrograde in the sign of Libra on September 9th. So it's one of those, that's when it's like full retrograde on. And it stays in full retrograde until October 2nd. And then it stations and turns back going direct. So it's kind of like in that post-shadow energy until October 16th. And it's in the sign of Libra at that time. So it's one of those, it's important to understand. And a lot of times people really understand it backwards, that it gets worse, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on you. And this is the fun part, is understanding what Mercury in retrograde is going to affect and how it's going to affect you is really important. So when Mercury starts to head backwards in the sign of Libra on September 9th. In Libra, it's going to be really affecting partnerships and balance. Any place that you've been out of balance in your life, or partnerships where you've been doing most of the work or someone else has been doing most of the work, that's when you're going to be like, oh my goodness, we're out of balance here, and you're going to feel it. So during this time, it's one of those, you're going to feel out of balance. You're going to be like, hey, I've been doing way more than this than everybody else. And that's a great time to really call people on it. Like, hey, let's do things differently, or let's deal with this in a different way. Or I feel like I've been carrying all the weight with this and you haven't. So having a great talk about this is a great time to do this. The other thing is, you may have some exes kind of appear from nowhere. And a lot of times this comes up during certain Mercuries and retrogrades, and it's all about old partnerships. Like, ooh, that was my ex, and things didn't work out well because I did all the work, or I let him do all the work, or I did this wrong, or we did this wrong. And it's a great time to kind of remember relationships from the past and kind of making new choices or new ways to kind of invent yourself in this. This is a great time to kind of open up to new relationships, really kind of open up to like supportive friends. And it's one of those, this is a great time to kind of have your vibrations on high alert, because you never know who's going to be circling around. And I have known many people to go into Mercury in retrograde single and come out with someone on the other side. So this could be a possibility. Let's see, one of the things that I would say is really kind of September 23rd is Mercury leaves the sign of Libra and re-enters the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is ruled, or Mercury is ruled by Virgo, and so it's going to make it this really extra intense right at the end, like a little kickoff right at the end. and it's going to be really intense. You may have intensity of like drama or trauma. You may have intensity with people around you. You may kind of have people kind of go into that detail-oriented, kind of back in that Virgo energy, detail-oriented, very productive. And this could be kind of like a way of kind of like having your anxiety kind of run wild for a little bit, like, oh my gosh, things are going crazy. It's just for a period of time, and this is a great time to kind of know what anxiety you really deal with. This is the time where you're kind of like, oh, I didn't realize I had anxiety with this. I didn't realize I had anxiety with that. And so that's kind of a really important part. So kind of like, interesting. And kind of have your therapist on speed dial, or someone that you can talk through, like a very supportive friend, so you can kind of breathe easier and kind of allow this to go. Also, Mercury goes direct on October 2nd, so it's going to start lightening up. So it's not in this super Virgo energy really, really long or really, really intense for a very long. It's going to be there for a couple of weeks, but it's a really great time to what is really Mercury in retrograde really trying to teach you. What is it really trying to teach you about the balance of your relationships, or about kind of like being detail oriented, or your anxiety, or how you push yourself compared to how someone else pushes themselves. Let's pull a couple of angel cards and get us a little bit deeper insight into all things Mercury in retrograde. And this one is going to be in the sign of Virgo and Libra. So this one is, of course, they're always upside down. This one is about the ascendant, and this is all about the entrance. Like I said, so many times I have people that will tell me that I walked into Mercury in retrograde, there was no one, even a blip on my radar of dating or anything else, and they'll come out on the other side in a great relationship. And so sometimes it's kind of like that turmoil, because Mercury in retrograde is really going to make you communicate clearer, get clear communication right off the bat. It's like, I don't want to lose their number. I don't want to lose connection with them. So it's going to be pushing us in some amazing ways to really amp up. This one is Vesta, and this is all about the hearth and kind of like that home feeling. Mercury is going to feel like that when it is in the sign of Virgo, because it's home. So it's going to be really intense during that time frame, in pure shadow and in when it's in full retrograde. And that's a great time to kind of take a look at what is fueling you, what is going right, and what is going wrong. This is really a great time to kind of really add that to it. This is our first house, and this is all about the arrival of kind of like what's coming up new. Things are going to be coming up new. You want to make sure that you are not signing any new contracts during this time frame, but if you're bringing things to a close, it's perfect. So anything that you started prior to Mercury going into retrograde, it's okay to sign all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff to bring it to a close. It's not okay to start it during Mercury in retrograde. So if you were buying a house or buying a car and you started all of the paperwork and now you're just going to be signing off on it, that's okay to close it out, pick it up. But you don't want to start anything brand new in Mercury in retrograde. So let me pull a couple of other cards and get us a little more insight into all of these energies. It's upside down again. This one is the 6th house, and this is sustainability. And I will tell you, relationships that make it through a lot of Mercury in retrogrades, especially intense ones in the sign of Virgo, are really important. I will tell you, they are important because they're going to last the test of time. Any ones that you're kind of like, okay, I've only known this person 2 weeks and they're not calling me or texting me back, or they're not doing this. It's one of those, let those go. Those are just holding you back anyway. Just let that one go and let it be on its own. Don't allow that to come back. Ones that are really healthy are going to stay, and the ones that you start healthy are going to stay healthy because you're really amping that energy up. This is the North Node, and this is all about the future. This one, I guarantee you, this Mercury in retrograde is going to change some futures, and I think that's really cool, being able to change energy like that. This is our 10th house, and this is authority. Are you taking authority? with Mercury in retrograde? Are you taking authority over your partnerships and your balance and getting that back in alignment? Are you getting in authority over kind of your detail orientations and kind of like, how do I deal with this? And this doesn't work for me, so let's make some changes or adjustments. Anything that's productive. Am I taking this on the way I should so I can find everything that I really, really want to have, and I'm really clearly communicating with everybody involved? That's one of those fun parts. This one is Jupiter, and this is all about abundance. Yes, sometimes during Mercury in retrograde, it can make us feel small and insignificant, and oh my gosh, the planets are really affecting us. But I guarantee you, it's bringing in a lot of abundance. And if there's issues in your financial house during this time frame, make sure that you're talking things through. Make sure that you're on the same page with everybody who has access to it. Your spouses or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it is, make sure that you're talking about money during this time frame and you're getting back in that balance of things that are going on. This is going to be really helpful in the future. This is your 7th house, and this is in your relationships. This one would not let me put it back in the pack. It was like, no, 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 you really got to talk about relationships here. Relationships, like I said, are really powerful during Mercury in retrograde, and one of the fun parts is to really talk about miscommunications. I thought you said this, you thought you said this, let's clear this up. Because anytime that you are taking that time now to work through it, the better off you're going to be later on, because you've already learned how to work through miscommunications. Work through, I thought you said this and you said this, or I thought you said we're meeting at 7 but we're meeting at 7:30. Talking through all of that is going to make your relationship so much stronger. So make sure that you're taking time to have a great relationship during this Mercury in retrograde. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.